don't have
This
it.
came from fifth grade.
You can try to find any.
Mountain View something.
Ben wants to.
Yeah.
Or whenever you're ready, Don's ready to go. So
Okay.
if you're ready, just let him know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You good? Okay.
Lori's asking about. This,
The opening?
I said you and I.
Oh, yep.
Well, welcome. Yes. You have to approve the minutes, which are there in front of you. Are there options?
Well, actually, I rolled in late, but I was in attendance and I did vote in affirmative for both motions.
So you came in late.
Late, yeah.
Don, is Victoria on the?
Nah.
So then we have to add his name to.
Yep.
To the vote.
She's just waiting to be let in.
Oh, there she is.
All right, good.
That's a Viva.
So in the motion to approve minutes, we would also add the amendment
That you make.
that was here,
Yeah,
whoever makes the motion.
yeah, I'll move to approve the April 6th, 2023 minutes of the pool building committee with amending attendance, including Matthew Boucher and 2 affirmative votes for Matthew Boucher on both votes.
It's on the floor.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think we have one abstention.
Yep.
Mr. Fenny was not here. Pass.
All right, so design update. I know we met at West Springfield last week, so I don't know if, I know there were lots of notes taken from different things that were discussed with amongst all the different people who were there, so I don't know if you wanna, I'll turn over to you and
Sure.
go from there.
Yeah, that was a great walkthrough, and what we tried to do is take down comments that we were hearing and respond to them, because as last time, we'll show you that we remember had some preliminary information based on plans, and we took the West Springfield plans and noted those things that Core raised and others raised as we were walking around. For example, it would be great to have another 2 feet beyond the diving board, so apron questions, a question about if we could clip forward here a little bit, I've got some images here.
Timeline, we're good?
Yeah, we all know what a timeline generally. So we wanted to respond to some of those things that came through the walkthrough. So specifically, I wanted to show you that we had adjusted the plans based on the site constraints that we were talking about last time, as well as some of these commentary items. So what would a larger apron of the diving board and team side look like? The team side was in order to add an additional seating line for visiting team, probably, but swimmers, as well as anticipate the storage and timekeeper stand. The initial storage could be dealt with a few different ways, but we're trying to show a little bit of extra storage, and we keep the timekeeper stand in our goals. And then what was helpful for us is to understand how the pool office surveilling its critical position. You can't mess with that. It's got to be able to see the vestibule, see the pool area, and also observe, at least by sound, people coming through from the locker rooms. There was noted lack of storage for equipment to come out into the pool area, as well as that question about storage, how we would deal with boosters. So it was agreed that we didn't want a full concessions window, but we would want to be able to allow a booster group to put a table out. So maybe that's just about having sufficient space in the storage room for a table that could be pulled out. There was agreement that the family restroom, which was quite sort of double, probably the capacity you would absolutely need, might have been extra space that we could pull back a little bit in order to make up for it. So that's something to look at. We talked about the vestibule bathroom relationship being important, because in our scheme, it's actually, again, relating to the high school. So we've tried to show that. And then one question that we're going to talk about today is the square footage for the mechanical systems. And there's some choices that could help us to squeeze down the mechanical space slightly based on the filtration choices. So Mike is going to join us at 3:30 and we've got some slides so he can ask you some questions that will help him develop his specifications that we'll then respond to in the plan. So next slide. So again, remember last time we were showing these three potential physical orientations. So we worked with the site team to explore this further. And in the next slide, you see where we are currently. So what we ended up doing, and the plan you'll see close up in a second, but in the overall view, we found that if we took apart there's three programs. There's a pool, there's four programs. There's a pool, there's the mechanical spaces that support the pool. There's the locker rooms as a component, and then there's those things that you have to pass through the pool office and those pieces. So rather than have it all as a bar, we actually tried to kind of break it apart a little bit to see if we could make it fit what feels like a really important geometry that we're trying to hit here, where the front of the school is not over, the hierarchy. You don't want to have the pool sticking out in front of the school. You want it to kind of feel like the school is the most important element. But we also have this point that we have parking behind the pool building, and we have this concern that we have people coming from both the backside, potentially from parking, or from the front loop. So we have a double, a vestibule that has to be accessed from both sides. And then we have the basketball courts. So how do we kind of futsies together? This is our current situation that makes the best use of the site. And we think it answers a lot of those questions. So if you could click forward. So that's a close-up of that, and I'll pass around. This is super preliminary. I admit sometimes it's easiest almost to design via this crowdsourcing process where we're going to show you things and you're going to say, oh, maybe we need a little more, a little less there, but it's just a helpful way to gather the feedback that I think we felt was kind of pass a couple that way for the team to get your input. So this is a blow up of what you're seeing there. Not everything perfected. I think, we would have a strong core, and a really important question that the next committee have to collectively answer is whether this vestibule and the bathrooms are, in this configuration, we're assuming they're part of the pool. So that increases the pool square footage as a building. In order to have that not be added here, because the vestibule is adding obviously a lot of square footage, especially a vestibule has to be accessed from two different sides. And if this it's kind of nice to have this big generous footprint because it's essentially the overflow from the gym. So if you have 500, 800 people in a gym, you have the ability for a kind of comfortable access from the front of the building in. If you have, a bunch of people, parents there for the pool, you have essentially this room between the two that does double duty. So this is showing a very generous lobby, obviously. And there's mechanical systems to support that, obviously. So it's an expensive piece that in a way wasn't in our minds when we're thinking about the school. So we put it with the pool. That increases the pool area to the combination of these two. So that puts us up at 17.9, so more square footage.
What was it before?
Well, we had a 16 was about where we were. 15 is the number we had talked about originally way back before. We were at 16 last time. Again, we haven't gotten into the cost per square foot, but we had a rule there that we were kind of roughing.
Yeah, but we're adding 10% square footage. Does that add 10% cost?
Exactly.
It's directly relative.
Right,
That's what we're
right.
doing.
So that's the question is looking at.
Now you're at
this on a-
16.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, probably though.
No, probably not. You already own a mechanical system, you already own an electrical system, you already own all these things that contribute to that, whatever that square
Yeah.
foot number is. Making the lobby a little bit bigger doesn't mean we're buying another area.
Right,
Right.
cost per square
Gotcha.
foot goes
Right.
down.
What you're saying.
Yeah, but and this is where looking at, so here you can see a little bit more close up. what we're talking about in terms of this rearrangement. So we have the pool mechanical room parallel with the deep end of the pool. We're not showing the diving board, but we have a 10-foot apron to the back. 10-foot up front could be bigger than we need, so that's an area where we could go a little tighter, maybe. It depends on the flow and your preferences.
That's the deep end, Dory. The south end is the deep end.
That would be the north end technically,
The
right?
north is the deep end,
Yeah.
the top.
Plumbing room, yeah,
Top, yeah, which is east.
east,
Oh,
northeast, yeah,
north.
yeah. Let's say plan north.
Forgive me for asking this because I wasn't at the last meeting, so there's not going to be a basement under this.
Correct.
Good.
But the
Gotta
deep
say.
end is as deep as we
That's
go.
what it
Yeah.
sounds.
Yeah. And this is pretty straightforward, right? We did look at, okay, is there a way to, connect a second story, and it just was gonna blow it up. So it seemed like the important thing was to address the really functional issues that were raised. So.
So just looking at it, Dory, the main entrance,
Mhm.
I think should be to the far left, not directly at the end of the pool. Two reasons. That's where the starting blocks will be, or no, the blocks will be at the other end. But traffic, foot traffic and dirty shoes. So I think that should be where the storage is, that main
Yeah.
access. I know there's
Yeah.
a.
All right, well, no, we'll.
I think that's right?
Or move the toilets over.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, we can move the toilets over for sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
If we could, I mean, part of it is that vestibule, right? You need to get through the double vestibule.
yes, I got
So
you.
we can tweak that, but I think that's really helpful commentary because we want to come in more directly. And I think that's okay. The pool, you're thinking about sightline, right? So my assumption was that you're
For the office, you
coming
mean?
in and going by the office.
Yeah, I get that.
And
So
security
maybe
too.
flip the office with the toilets.
Yep.
Is that okay? Because again, if the office is to the left, is it okay to just have sight line of people coming out of the locker room into the pool area?
So you're talking about moving the pool office and the toilets in the flip-flop lane.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that was fine if, as long as the pool.
Yeah.
That pool office opens up both ways. Like, if I'm looking at this pool office and if we're thinking it looks similar a little bit to the one in West Springfield where that kind of like opens and closes, is that what you're talking about? Like, how they had like that whole, it like opened all the. way
Yeah, we're
out
not
to
gonna
the
open,
front.
no.
Hmm?
We're not gonna open, but we might have
you
glass.
didn't want quite that big an opening, though. You just want a window essentially.
Well, yeah, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. As long as like you can open to see out, that's what you're
As
talking
long as
about.
you can see from the pool office
Yeah.
into the vestibule as well as passing the office.
Right.
As well as in.
Well, so Dory, I think you make the hallway glass and the poolside glass with an opening.
Yeah.
Hallway side for ticket, I don't know, is that why?
Yeah, well, so
Sales or
for
something?
West Springfield, they use it when they have rec meets, they open that whole thing up and they use the office as like their snack bar and then they,
Yeah, but we're just gonna put a table in the hallway for a
Right.
snack bar, so we don't need the whole garage
Right.
door thing, right?
but if you're gonna have people like signing in and checking in, you're gonna
Yeah.
need some way to, like if they're paying or if they're like scanning
So you need
a barcode or something, yeah.
Greg, what was your question about the path of travel?
So the main hallway is in the middle.
Yep.
So when spectators coming in out from the snow, they're gonna walk right at the end of the pool. I think it's better to put the spectators right into the stands and not across the pool deck. The swimmers are gonna be clean anyway, because they're out of the locker room.
Got it.
Yeah.
And just avoiding the diving blocks location is just the
Well,
help.
the blocks are gonna be in the deep end, right, in the other end?
Right.
Oh, right.
But, and I know I said that before, but it always gets wet.
Is that what you're saying?
What's that?
Pool storage becomes your hallway in?
Well, we're gonna have a problem with that because of double vestibule.
I think we might be able to keep the storage and put the office next, and then put well, maybe
Just
not.
dump it right out
I
there.
was thinking that we would have the passage then, and then the office, and then the toilets. So you'd still be able to get to
Oh,
the
keep-
left
keep
side of the
storage?
pool on your way in, but keep storage there, just so that we're not, the value of storage is that it helps our vestibule a little bit, gives us that padding.
Or is the size of the lobby driven by the geometry of the building and the pool building, or is
Yeah,
that?
pretty much.
Yeah.
In that you have to get people into the locker room. And the other thing, if I could flip back the slide here,
Sorry.
one thing that was really bothering me before is that we had this kind of tight chute between the pool and the
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
It felt awkward, and this using that storage area to kind of open that opening makes it a little bit more pleasant. And also, I think what's nice about this is the mass of the pool becomes a big piece that you're seeing rather than the little tiny mechanical systems on top of the little
Right.
tiny roof. So that'll be nicer too.
Yeah.
But we can work on that. I mean, I wouldn't sweat it. Keep giving input and we'll play with it.
Yeah, I think a question is the pool, where does the pool office really need to be? It seems like the pool office needs to be looking at many things, right? Into
Yeah.
the pool itself.
Yep.
Having a connection to the main vestibule. And is there a supervisory need
Yeah, I
to
think-
be able to connect directly to the locker?
But leaving the story.
I mean, I think if you're right where, if you move the pool office to kind of like where the toilets are, or if you put
Yeah.
the hallway where that first bank of like toilets are, and then,
Mhm.
right, I think that's what Greg is saying, like, make a pathway into the pool right as you come
It's
in,
a little more direct.
instead of walking all the way around. As long as the pool, I mean, if you have the pool office like shifted to the left a little bit, you're gonna be able to see people coming in both doors, and you're still gonna be able to see people walking towards the locker room, which they don't have at West Springfield, and that they did not like.
Right, okay.
Right.
He said, he said, we have to have people, like he said, for their rec teams or other events, they have to have people out in the hallway collecting stuff. Because kids run around to the bathrooms and stuff behind, because you can't see it from the office. But here you would be able to see all those entry points from both sides and into the locker.
Okay.
And from the athletics, like that connect to the high school if you were coming in from that way.
Right, right. So getting that
Oh.
kind of properly located is a key. Okay.
So Dory, the 15-7-11, is that this entire thing absent the lobby?
Yes.
Can we make also the locker rooms accessible from outside in case we have multiple teams on the field that we want to use those for? Or does that not fit in?
Well, they would still come
Um,
through the gym though.
The danger
There you
of that
go.
I would see, Greg, is just from the sanitation level.
Yeah.
Like, I think the value of having have to come in and go.
Come through the vestibule.
Foot scraping process.
Okay, that makes sense.
I would say now I show a significantly more storage here. There's a full storage room on the left that's 318 is bigger than what you had at West Springfield. And there wasn't that 419. So the other option there is if this feels like more storage than we need, we rearrange down here, but leave that one storage up there, 419.
Is this on the right side of the pool where it says it's like 11 feet? And then it looks like is that like seating?
The idea was
benches?
2 layers, sort of a stepped seating
Okay.
for team
Put the next slide
members
up.
with some storage.
Yeah, the one with that one.
Right.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But people.
You'd ask me to go
you
back.
Can't see it.
Um,
They don't have the.
is there any way to make those benches like be open up and keep storage in?
Yeah, I heard that. So that's the.
Cause that's kind of what we have now. We have like all these benches along the pool and they open up and we keep like fins and kickboards and we keep a lot of pool
Right.
equipment right there that's super easily accessible for all the teams that are using them. So you don't have to wheel things in and out.
So my thinking was that the far side might be standard aluminum bleachers, but
Right.
that side, we would be doing more of a structured thing,
Right.
or at least the first level of it.
Okay.
Or-
Yeah, that would be like really,
You want to be really thoughtful about the pool equipment storage. What we have today is not ideal. It's functional.
Right.
But it's not what you want is air to get in through
Right.
stuff so that mold
Doesn't
can
get-
grow and everything like that. There's other ways to do on pool storage for kickboards and.
right.
ways and stuff.
Right.
Will all the chemical storage be stored in the pool mechanical room? Is that
And
the plan?
there was a lot of storage back there. That's why it's quite large. And this is where the decisions that we'll make with Mike will help us size that further. I think there's this somewhat generous, and that's where I didn't know if we want to keep this 2 separate storage rooms so that if there is a need for pool equipment and chemicals that are outside of that, if there's any need for that. And also thinking about the possibility of, again, boosters and a table, where would that fall in?
Mhm.
I'd rather not, you can see the configuration of this lobby makes it pretty tough to have an additional kind of pull, like nook here or a closet. We could, based on this change, we might be able to reduce the pool office size, but get a second closet into the vestibule if we like. Because I think possibly the electrical rooms will want to stay over here next to the locker rooms.
What does the TD stand for in the pool?
That's that communications room.
Oh, where he had the speakers and all that stuff. Okay.
there'll be some kind of seating in the lobby, whether fixed or otherwise.
Can certainly be, there's room for it, it's sort of a question of how much you want there really relative to the traffic flow you have, but benches for sure are pleasant.
I'm just thinking of, waiting parents or
Yeah,
whatever. Everybody
yeah.
wants a place to sit down and
Yeah.
do whatever they're doing.
When it opens up from the vestibule into the high school,
Mhm.
because we can't see all the high school plans, how far is it from those doors to get into the actual gym?
So actually, let's see if you can see it. So that set of doors, you're about 8 feet further to the gym line.
Okay,
So we have that double door. You'll see, I have to switch to the other PowerPoint. I knew this was gonna get irritating.
Go back to that bigger one, Gordon.
Yeah, you'll see it in the next meeting. Yeah, there you go. You can kind of see, go back to that one. You can see there, see how there's a gray corner. So we have the gym, those double doors, one of them goes straight into the gym. Essentially, there's
Oh.
like a space and then another
Okay.
door here to the gym. The other goes down the hallway. So we
Okay.
have essentially like about a 10-foot hallway and a 10-foot area that's the first wall of the gym essentially.
okay,
So you have two offices there and a door into the athletic alt PE room so that all of that is available. And I would say the alt PE room being on this side seems super helpful to the gym program or the pool program.
Cool, because overflow, big needs, you get a tri-meter.
so my thing is, we don't have like really big needs because we can't right now because our pool is so small, but every year there are a lot of USA teams that cannot find pool space that are always looking to rent space and have swim meets, but also there's championship meets and we can't ever find places to host championship meets, and you can essentially set the price for what you want it to be for the weekend and you can make lots of money doing it, so.
So that
Right ahead
sort
of
of
you.
suggests to me that you guys are comfortable with the
Education.
size of the pool.
We're gonna go back
Is that the
Stage and stuff is.
general impression I'm getting, or are you feeling like I wanted to get your temperature on this before?
So this is a 6-lane,
Mhm.
75-yard pool, and how wide are the lanes?
Bring down.
Stories.
Mike will join us.
Okay.
Answer that question.
A little-
And
little
25
wondering-
yard, not 70.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Based on what you saw. at
25 feet, 25 yards, okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but whoever's controlling the Zoom, Victoria Clifford is on and was hoping to be moved to a panelist so that she would also have the ability to be off mute.
And can you also invite, Michael Manzini should also be?
Yeah, they're both on. I'm sorry.
Oh, there's
Yeah.
Michael.
No,
So
that's great.
maybe what we can do, if we can.
And
move-
John Benziger, actually, all the attendees.
There too. I see.
So there we are, okay, 17,909. If that's not feeling scary yet, if that's feeling good.
No, I don't, it's scary. We're getting bigger. Dory. I'm all about the square footage, but I don't want to go over the 15 is already like mind blowing to go to 16.
Yeah.
Just like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not loving it. Million. 16 million.
What are you gonna do?
Well, let's get the parts and
Yeah.
pieces right and where they are, because
Yeah, no, I know. it's
Wow.
beautiful.
the ability to squeeze and
And the toilets,
potentially
right? That's what
finesse.
yeah, we'll switch that and we'll obviously always look for ways, but I was trying to accommodate those requests. And it's a question of if you prefer we not and just stay tighter, then we can do that.
Is there a creative way to turn the lobby into more of a school appendage than a pool appendage?
Well, that's what I was,
So I know Kevin said, sorry to interrupt, he said he loved the idea of having that because if you were having basketball games or something, you only wanted to use that, you could use that as the entryway, as opposed to using the main part of the school.
Other toilets.
it will certainly function that. The question at a committee project level is, could you put the vestibule in the school project? You could. It's cheaper in the pool, I would say.
Yeah, but
it'll push us over is it over the reimbursable?
Well,
amount?
it's certainly not
One.
reimbursed. We're over already,
And-
right? So it's a question that ultimately it's what it costs, right? Materially, but I think in terms of the overhead project costs on the pool, on the school side
Right.
are always higher than they will be on the pool side.
On the soft cost side.
And then, so it's not significant. Is there a political value to it? That's the question, I think, for you all, does it
what
help?
percentage of the footprint is that?
I also worry that the MSBA will perceive this
I do
as
too.
part of the, part of the pool and object to us including it with the school project.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we picture it as the entrance to the gymnasium,
Yeah, but it'll obviously not, like, there's no
Shaped
clean
just like
line.
that.
Because technically, remember, from a construction standpoint, we want it to be a separate building.
Right.
So where do we put the building
Yeah.
line? It's
Right.
obviously cleanly along the school edge. Could you put it on the other side? Yeah, but I think it'll be more of a dogfight, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't smell to us, I just wanted to ask.
Yeah.
So if you can go back to maybe that picture of that enters into that. So if fans are coming in to watch a basketball game, a volleyball game, something into the gymnasium, how are they going to enter? What's the access and egress for
They
that?
could enter or exit from here
Yeah,
or here
so
or here.
so I look at that lobby as a really good access point for, somebody coming in for a basketball game. So I agree. I think there's a pretty good argument to put it into the overall school, right? And that's it. You're looking to save 2,200 square feet.
Yeah, but you're not
What would be
saving,
the
right?
It's not saving, but putting it into that,
the advantage is the price tag on the pool.
And so that's just to play that out. So your feeling is it's a better, it's.
because that's gonna be a lobby not only for the
Yeah.
pool, but for all.
Sure.
So those could be ticket sales coming in, like 2,100 square feet of ticket sales to get into the basketball game. too.
Right.
And there's gonna be boosters there's gonna be, hot dog stands,
Yeah, for sure. It serves both.
basketball too, right?
The question is politically, is a more expensive pool or less expensive pool or more expensive school or less expensive school going to help your vote? I think is that what you're saying. Now, we're saying that from a clarity to the MSBA, we're not going to like the vestibule in the school. Could we work on that? I guess we could. It's clearly obviously a vestibule for the pool, so you know how it's been thus far. But just, I'm still trying to understand, everything we've heard in this project so far has been that the town really wants this pool. So I'm wondering.
So Birchland Park, when we built it, passed by 12 votes.
Uh-huh.
Pool is the secondary vote. I think we can agree the school will get more votes than the pool. Is that a fair? Does everybody believe that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know that people are gonna go in and vote yes on a pool and no on the school. They're just not gonna do it. Why would you do that? So you're either gonna go vote for both or you're gonna just vote for the school, I think. And it's an easy one to not vote for. I think we need to keep the price tag as low as possible in order to encourage votes.
So that said, do you think 15 million or 17 million, is that a meaningful delta to the
Yeah.
voter?
Totally. I think 15 is too much, but we gotta do what we have to do. So anything we can do to keep that number down.
Can we get, Mike is available now to present. but he
Yeah.
might not be available
Mike has,
for the
yeah.
whole time.
Thank you.
Pulling up,
It's
Mike,
possible to-
one thing to think through, and this is the first time I've seen it, so my head is going in a lot of different places. One thing is there a reason why the plumbing is in the top right-hand corner?
I know that Mike can join this because I want to, he's seeing it too. Mike, you're here?
He was here.
He said he was.
So.
I'll
Yeah, I'm here. How's it going? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, we
Hi,
can.
Mike.
I'll tell you what I'm thinking
Great.
is so the starting end of the pool will be in that north end, the top of the sheet, right?
Plan
The starting
north.
box will be there. Every single time you're gonna have to move touch pads and everything, the whole length of the swimming pool. If you can put the storage right there, it's easy access.
The reason I have it there, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's mainly the pool mechanical room I have equal with the deep end of the pool because I'm assuming based on the pump room configuration, you need it low coming through into the mechanical room. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, it's really just the water level. It doesn't have to be the level of the main drains. We just want to keep the circulation pump, close to the grade of the pool itself. So the deep end is a good place to put it, and there'll be a surge tank as well. So I could probably answer all these things if I could just start my slides.
Sure.
Because I kind of have that already prepared to talk about.
Yeah, okay, maybe we can go through these.
Yeah, because I noticed someone said earlier 75-yard pool. It's a 75-foot pool, not yards, because a 25-yard pool is the competition length that we use in the United States for swim meets, especially high school, which is 75 feet. So just whoever said 75 yards earlier, unless it was a mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a mistake.
Just a mistake.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Wishful
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. And the other thing is, as far as I heard someone mention earlier about the width of the lanes.
Yeah.
Normally, we can get away with 6 to 7 foot swim lanes, but since we're trying to mount a 1 meter diving board, springboard in between lanes 3 and 4, it would be a lot better for 8 feet wide lanes, because this would allow the board to fit between the platforms without a conflict, because you're gonna have starting blocks.
Does that want to be 48 across then?
6 times 8, correct. And that just gives it a little more space, because you're gonna have starting blocks at the end of the deep end like this, and you don't want a diving board to be in between, you know, the 2 starting blocks. You want to be able to give it a little space, because that springboard needs to be able to move around a little bit, and it will retract up against the back wall anyway. But it becomes way too tight and way too complicated if we don't expand those widths of the lanes just a little bit. And that actually helps for swim practice and warm-ups for meets too, because it gives more room for the swimmers to do
100%.
the short strokes, which are breaststroke and butterfly. Because they kind of, you know, they stretch out their hands a little more on those strokes. So it's good. The coaches will appreciate the extra.
We've been there.
Yeah, so 75 and 46 help, you know, already.
A little bit. Oh, yeah.
No, that's good. Okay, keep going then.
All right, so you have my slideshow ready? So I'm guessing you'll just click it when I say click, kind of thing?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna try and go through these really quick, because we only have like a short amount of time. And I was told to focus the slideshow on equipment, not deck equipment. So this is strictly circulation and filtration related topics. And I ask that you please kind of hold the questions as a follow-up for afterwards, because I have 18 slides I want to get through in 18 minutes. So if there's any questions, we'll just address them in a follow-up. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So what we've got here is first thing and foremost is probably your biggest expense is pool filtration. The pool filter is going to be more than likely the most expensive piece of equipment in the pump room. And you have 2 choices, high rate sand filters or regenerative media filters. High rate sand filters are the more traditional, historically used filters. West Springfield has sand filters. Probably more than 3/4 of the pools in Massachusetts have sand filters. And that's been the technology that we've been using since the pools were invented. They work really good. They just sort of take up a lot more space than regens, and they don't filter down to a small as small as a micron. So water clarity is compromised slightly, especially during busy USA swim meets and practices when you've got 100 kids in and out of the pool in a matter of 2 or 3 hours. The regen filters do a much greater job of keeping up with the turbidity and the cloudy water than the sand filters do in that short period of time. Sand filters operate on depth filtration, so we're trying to drive the water through a sand bed. Water passes through the sand bed, it's trapping particles that are only about 20 or 30 microns. And to really get the best efficiency, you need to sort of install a coagulant feeder or start to put enzymes and other things in the pool to beef up the sand filter performance. Regen filters have been around forever, but they've been used in the pool industry most commonly for the past maybe 10 or 15 years. They're used by USA Swimming, the Olympics, Olympic trials, all the big D1 schools, FINA. If you ever watch any swimming with Michael Phelps on television, there's regen filters on those pools, all of them. They operate on surface filtration, so the pumps are more efficient. They're not trying to drive water through sand. It passes through the flex tubes, which is a little cartoon of that to the right. Tubes are coated with not DE, but perlite. DE is sort of obsolete at this stage. We're now using perlite, which is an inert substance. It's not a carcinogen in dry form, and it can be disposed in sewer versus DE, which was a modern technology 10 years ago. But now this perlite regen stuff has replaced those DE style filters. And also the big thing is that the water filters in the regen style trap particles down to like, 1 micron, which is smaller than a blood cell. So you're getting like gin clear water. The regen filters have flex tubes, and you can see a cross section there. It's an advanced filter process. It uses perlite. They pre-coat. They could get really, really small particles removed from the water. And, when the pool is moderately used, it really doesn't matter. But the thing is, when you're getting these big swim meets and warm-ups and, swim practice, there's a lot of kids in the water, and it does a better job. It takes up a much smaller footprint as well. And in the mechanical room, so sand filters are generally going to take up like, 30 to 45% more space in terms of footprint. And if your sewer lines can't handle the amount of backwash that the sand filters have to produce, you don't need a backwash holding tank for something like a regen filter, because they don't require any backwashing at all. And this chart here just shows that, we're comparing, removal. So, a blood cell is 5 to 10 microns, and we're talking about a pool filter that removes things even smaller than that. And it also helps with your UV performance too, because ultraviolet needs clear water to remove chloramines and also deal with recreational water illnesses. Regen's a much better choice. It's just twice the capital cost. But, considering that mechanical space and footprint is a big hot topic with this project, and we're trying to reduce footprint and square footage overall, like across the board, you could see here in these pictures, you've got the same exact pool, same exact pump room, and we replaced sand filters with regen filters, and you can see how cramped up and how much space was needed to have sand filters there on the left. You're talking about 6 horizontal sand filters all stacked up in a row there. And then you end up going with, regen filters, and now look how much less room there is cramped up with equipment. Now this is a renovation, so now they have this giant pump room that they don't need all that space for. For a new construction like this job, we can work with the architects to make a much smaller sized mechanical room with a regen filter. I mean, you're talking over $300 a square foot for mechanical room space. So when you can bring that down quite a bit, it's going to save a lot of money, because we're going to be able to work with the architect to provide a much smaller pump room. It's a smaller operating weight. It's easier to install. It's just a much better filter at the end of the day. You just have to be okay with paying twice as much capital cost up front, but the return on investment of a full year-round pool is probably like 7 to 10 years by the time all the water costs, electric costs, space costs, chemical costs, all those savings are combined. You've got about 7 years before the filters essentially pay for themselves. It's just a much better option. And then there are a couple good regen manufacturers out there. Neptune Benson is one, Aquify is another, Paddock is another good one. The only one doing them in fiberglass though is a company called Aquify, and it's a better choice. They're a much cheaper upfront cost. Neptune Benson is the leading regen filter manufacturer in the country, but they only make steel vessels. The newer companies are starting to make regen filters in fiberglass, because they're lightweight, they're shorter to install, they're corrosion proof, lower maintenance. And you don't need to bond them, and contractors find them a lot easier to get in and out of the room during construction. And you'll never have to deal with sort of corrosion or any of that. So, I mean, you really have to, the big choice when it comes to filter, at the end of the day, you have to choose, do I want sand filters or do I want regen filters? And for a pool this size, you're going to look at either one regen filter or potentially, you know, at least a pair of sand filters. You're not going to be able to do one and one. You're probably going to need 2 sand filters or 1 regen filter. So just right there, you're looking at a much smaller footprint. And I know that's a big deal for this project. And you get better water quality and lower operational costs. You just got to be able to digest the fact that you're paying twice as much.
Mike, do you want to, should we stop and get some reaction to that? See if anybody has.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
What's the shelf life difference between the regen versus the sand?
You hear the question is, yeah, good.
Yeah, no, it's essentially, it's the same. The filters are very simple pieces of equipment. It's just a vessel that has media inside of it. They're going to last exactly the same amount of time. The only difference is
how long?
We could take a closer look at warranties at another time, but you know, you're looking at 10-year warranties on both. We've had Defenders and regen filters like Aquafly that are installed 10, 15 years ago and still operating perfectly today. Same thing with sand filters. There's really not a major difference between one or the other in terms of replacement after they're installed. It's the only difference is with sand filters, you have to have a company come and take the sand out of the filter periodically because that's a permanent media bed. So a sand filter is filled with sand and that sand can't stay in there forever. And it weighs thousands of pounds combined. And after several years of operation, maybe 5 years, that sand is filthy. And it needs to be sucked out by a sucker truck, removed and replaced with new sand. That's a big cost and it's a lot of labor and you need a special company to be able to do that. With regen filters, the media is replaced more routinely. It's a very lightweight media. It gets vacuumed out. We've had 19-year-old lifeguards do it. It's not a complicated process. So you have to buy media throughout the life of a regen filter. They're maybe $25 a bag. You're doing it like, you know, monthly. But with sand filters, you have to do one change every 5 years, but it's a monster project when you do. That's really the main difference in terms of life cycle. Otherwise, you're looking at the same thing. One's a vessel that stands up, one's a vessel that lays horizontally. They're either steel or fiberglass, and they're made basically by the same factories in the same manner. It's more or less the internals and the actual filtration process is the difference, not the longevity of either one. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. Mike, did you mention order of magnitude cost on this equipment? When you say it's more expensive, like how much more?
I would say safely in a conversation like this, just to say it's twice as much for a regen as a sand filter setup. So let's say
filter setup.
Let's say you need 2 sand filters that are maybe roughly without install, maybe 25 grand a piece with all the piping and the face piping and the valves and the manifold and everything. So you might be looking at, you know, 40 to 50 grand for sand filters, and you might be looking at 85 to 95 grand for a regen. But the only difference is the regen filter doesn't require backwashing, which means you're saving all that water, which is heated, treated, has chemicals. You've got a smaller pump room at the time of construction. So, you know, you could work with these manufacturers and we can get a return on investment report. And typically on a year-round pool that's open 365 days a year indoors, they'll tell you that between 5 and 7 years, the amount of cost savings with water, electricity, chemicals, utilities to run a regen pays for itself. Whereas a sand filter just constantly is burning costs because you have to backwash.
Yeah, let's check in here again.
Yeah, I,
Mike, can I just ask you on the maintenance, for the regen, you say it's monthly. Who typically does that for a high school? Is it someone on staff or is there?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a simple process that pretty much a 17-year-old can do it. But whoever the pool person is, it's usually the CPO, the pool maintenance person, the facilities operator,
Custodians.
YMCA, sometimes it's the aquatics director. It doesn't have to be a highly trained maintenance engineering person because the system is so easy. And that the PLC controller on those filters actually have the O&Ms built into the screens. So it gives you a step-by-step wizard as you do it. Open this valve, close this valve, vacuum this filter in, press start. It takes maybe 40 minutes. And like I said, I've had like seasonal tennis club kids that are 19 working part-time for the summer that changed me.
Mike, the waste, I'm curious about that because you're putting new media in. You taking it out? Is there any waste disposal issue?
So with the regen filters, when it gets bumped at the time of a change, which is, let's just say monthly, it goes right to sewer, and it has a valve and a line that just dumps it right into a sewer line. And it's a very low flow, and perlite is not currently regulated in any states like Massachusetts where they're not allowed to just dump it right down into a sewer line. And it's a substitution for backwashing. With 2 sand filters, you're talking about thousands of gallons a month. With a regen filter, you're wasting just twice the volume of the tank, which is a minimal percentage of what a sand filter would waste.
okay.
Yeah.
I think Bruce had a couple of, sorry.
Mike, so obviously with the regen filter, it looks like it's probably be a better fit, obviously for the pool, barring the maintenance, every month. But that material, so there's no backwashing, because one of my biggest concerns is you can't put chlorinated water down into our sewer system. So that's a big concern on our part, without having some kind of holding tank based on how much you're backwashing. So this is the first I'm hearing about a regen filter, so I'm pretty pleased so far. It's just the cost, the maintenance, that's gonna be monthly versus the sand filters, because we currently have 2 sand filters up at our Pine Knoll pool with 2 10 horsepower pumps. So we're very familiar with that. We take those offline every year, skim the top surfaces off, with all the debris and everything that collects. So if there's no real disposal issue that can directly go into the sewer, which there's no chemicals, part of that materials, then I think that'd be better, obviously, for everybody.
So just for the record, there's nothing wrong with sand filters. We love them. And if you guys decide you want sand filters, it's a great decision. I'm just here to make you aware of the options that you have to make. And regen filters have been growing in the industry for 10 years, and now on pools like, for example, the YMCA, YUSA corporate facilities in Chicago that manages all YMCA constructions across the entire country, standardizes on regen filters. And YMCA's are nonprofits that are generally broke and have no money, and they still spend the money on the regens because they understand about value and return on investment, and they want to keep their operational costs low. And in a situation like this, where you're building a 50-year building and we've got to think long term, you don't want to just keep your mind focused on how much is the price tag on the day of the bid. You want to keep your mind focused on what is the long-term cost to operate a year-round 365-day pool for the rest of our careers.
Sure.
The regen is the better choice. Now, if you said, nah, but it's over budget and we're over budget and we can only afford sand filters, you're going to have a really clean, beautiful, wonderful pool also. You just have to kind of make the decision based on,
You spend that same money on space.
Mike, looking at that, Mike, financially, it makes more sense to go with the smaller footprint. Between the two, that seems pretty obvious that works. You have more slides to go through. I'd like to be sure we answer this and confirm that that's the direction the committee wants to go. Okay, I just want to point out that I think this is the only topic we're going to get through on this meeting, because the other questions you have, Mike, which I don't.
Honestly,
know that
the
they
thing
have-
is, we still have other technologies to discuss, so I don't want to make this a filter presentation. And I'm kind of already behind schedule.
Right,
I'm
wait.
good with
We only
time.
have 5 minutes left, so I'd rather like,
Let's just do a
And
quick
this
Zoom or
one?
something at another time.
yeah, and then we can come back to the others in the next presentation. Is that okay?
So
But should we
So
let
let's
Bruce?
let
Bruce, Bruce had
Yeah,
questions.
Let's,
I don't have a hard stop at 4, so if you want me to.
oh, we
just-
do.
Want to just, I can,
yeah, go ahead.
the fingers, obviously within the regen filters, because I know obviously with DE, I've had those filters in the past as well. Sometimes they get clogged due to lack of maintenance, things like that. How easily accessible are they to obviously take off, replace those occasionally and things like that?
They're
So-
designed that they never have to be replaced. And as long as the filter is bumped on a daily basis, which can be done automated, or you just go down there and push a button that says bump. It automatically recoats these things and moves it around.
Okay.
Maybe every quarter, someone has to open up a maintenance window, and as you could see on these filters, see how big that manway is?
Mhm.
It's a really large manway. It's a 14 by 18 door. I mean, a human can fit in there. That thing gets opened and they spray these things down maybe once a quarter with a hose. And we'll design that setup for you guys in your pump room, so that it's not like you're, oh, where are we gonna get a hose from? You know, we design it so that you have the, the hose bib and the access. You spray them off like you would spray off pollen off your car. You don't need to be a genius. You just give them a spritz and that's it. They don't get clogged. The filter's designed to be bumped every day, which is a fully automated process. It's either done automatically through a programmer, or someone who has a working index finger has to go down there and push a single button one time. And it cleanses and washes itself. These filters by any manufacturer are so far beyond the DE technology that we're used to from the 80s and the 90s, with those DE pits and those septums and all that. Do not mix this system up with a DE pit or DE filter. No one even uses those anymore. Those are gone. Those are like buying a tube TV. They're out of the industry.
Yeah.
Manufacturers have stopped doing that. But the thing is, like, DE and perlite are both powder. And powder is the best filtration because it's so
We're gonna
fine.
stop you, Mike, because we do have to close out this meeting for another, but go ahead.
One last thought was
Yes.
just that if you assume for argument, the delta between the two systems is about 50 grand, which is more than he just said.
Mhm.
We only have to save 62 feet of space
Yeah.
for it to be a wash.
Right,
Right,
I think this is a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
Wash.
I mean,
Nice.
it's a great choice and the water quality is exceptionally better. I spent most of my career as a swimming coach. I was a D1 swimmer, and then I worked for USA Swimming as a coach most of my career. Like, when you have a big meet and there's a bunch of kids in the pool, it gets gnarly, it gets clouded. Coaches don't like it. Even swim practice, it gets kind of cloudy in there. These
Thanks a lot,
filters
Mike.
keep up with it in real time.
Okay, thanks, great. So excellent, getting a really important decision. So these are the biggest space issues that we needed to hear from you all. So this gives us great marching orders to go forward. We'll definitely get into other issues. What we can also do is have a call where those people who want to dig in on some of the technical decisions, like, apron issues that we want to talk about, maybe we could do that as a separate call, and that way we won't have a time pressure on us.
I don't know if we need to do it as a full meeting, but I know we plan on meeting with the school building committee in 2 weeks, or at least we're gonna propose that today, and hopefully that works out. Would it be a worthwhile hour before or
Checking, I almost.
Let's do it in the interim.
Yeah.
do it in
Yeah,
between
yeah.
then, next week, find a time, we can set it up?
Probably just me that has.
I'm wondering how many people want to be at that level of decision making. This was the big one, but there are other decisions, do we want to just have a subcommittee kind of review and then present a package that the whole committee can approve?
Yeah, I think that's probably fine.
Okay.
Let's come up with a time that fits.
And who, other than Bruce, wants to be at that level of detail?
I do.
Steve, Bruce, Yep. All right.
As we're talking about, I'd like to.
We should probably just all do it. Why don't we just all do it?
All right, so we'll
Sounds
do
like
it. then we will
it. That's a
schedule
quorum.
next 2 weeks to
29.
kind of
All right.
cover the next bucket of stuff. All right, thank you, Mike.
Sorry.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Mike. Already Bill.
So do we want to,
Okay.
Closing this?
you want to see if we can set up a potential meeting on the 29th then?
Hey, can you guys hear me by any chance?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, so we just talked about filters, but there is some other major equipment decisions you guys need to make. So please, I mean, I went through
Yeah,
maybe
do
Do
four
you
out
have a
of,
deck that you can forward around so that we can take a look at it?
Yeah, I've sent it out already to, it'll be going into our project sheet, but I can send
I can
that
download this and send
to
it.
Gordon as a PDF and he can share it. That's for these immediate decisions. There's another bucket that we're gonna go through. But Mike, we were wondering about the possibility of 2 weeks from now, having another conversation to handle some additional technology questions. Would that work for you?
yeah, I mean, because we need to talk about, you know, chemicals, ultraviolet, gutter styles, pumps, you know, you have a lot of choices to make. And I'm not trying to drive you in any particular direction, but I would like to just give you the options because when we go to design this thing, we need to know what you want.
Right.
I've got another 12 slides or so to discuss. I
I
put the
think we
filters
should do it
first
as
in
a
the
call earlier
presentation.
and get it done.
Do it next
But
week.
So I think we'll send out a doodle poll to try and set a Zoom
Why
call.
don't we just do an hour, just do the same time again?
Well, because it's 2 weeks away and I feel like the
So
sooner we can
next
get it
week I'm
done,
not
the
able.
better.
45 minutes talking about filters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, next week, next,
Get it over with.
everybody else. may
Well,
have
the
to-
only
Ryan and I are
reason we
spending all
spent
week.
25 minutes talking about filters is because that's kind of one of the more I kind of assembled the deck with the most controversial, more expensive, complicated stuff first. It's gonna get easier as we go. I mean, some of the next.
Michael, it's not a criticism. It's just doing this meeting with a hard stop behind it.
Yeah,
It's all of us into a box.
gotcha.
So Mike, we'll touch base offline, find out a time that works for you next week, and then we'll coordinate with the rest of the group here. But let's plan on next week.
Okay,
Thanks, Mike.
yeah, that works.
Thank you, Mike.
You.
Thank you.
So do we stay in this line or do we have to log into something different for the next meeting?
It's a separate one,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, it is a separate one, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so
Are we we're not meeting the 29th, or are we meeting the 29th?
we're gonna ask the whole.
Yeah,
No, I mean, as pool.
Let's say, I think we need to doodle it because I don't even know if he's available at that time.
I think that was the issue today. Not available at 3 on Thursday.
Yeah, so I have a feeling we're gonna have
Do
to
you
find
want
a
to
different.
take a
time.
motion to?
Yes.
adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Who-
I'll move to it.
All right, Greg's moving to
We
adjourn.
can always do it.
Well, I know.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Staff?
Matt?
You have it.
Yeah, no, it's just.
Okay,
Hey, Ellen,
Any discussion on adjourning?
I hope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those- they've been one abstaining.
It's like, oh my God.
We're adjourned.
So.
Good.